Hi, good evening, everyone out there. This is Vancouver Wall Vet checking in with you again. Hope you're having a good start to your week. It is December 8th, 2025. We are deep into the Christmas season, if you will, and the endless pinging and banging around in our heads of the Christmas carols and the sounds and the joy and all the commercialism that comes wrapped up with that. Not always easy for me to deal with. These are tough times sometimes for our past experiences, but sometimes they're good times too when you have family and friends around. So we do our best to put a good face on the season and say, hey, Christmas is going to be here before we know it, and it is exciting. The commercialism of it, not so exciting, not my favorite part. That said, we're still on the guard for democracy. We're still keeping an eye out, and I just wanted to pop in and post a few thoughts. I haven't been on here for a few weeks. But first of all, I want to cover the fact that day by day, we continue to see these ICE assaults in our streets, these thugs, these armed militia-like groups walking around, not even in complete consistent uniforms, harassing, intimidating, terrorizing our fellow citizens, legal or illegal here. And it's appalling and it's dangerous. The fact that what happened with our National Guard member, our late National Guard member that was shot, is not related to ICE per se, but it is alone a terrible loss. And I just want to acknowledge that. If there's ever been a time to put our hearts out there and our best will, our best goodwill towards people in uniform, it's now. So that was a tragic loss, and I hope the other individual comes out of it okay as well that was impacted by that terrible incident. Further on, I wanted to mention that I think what's happened with our 6 outspoken, democracy-defending and protecting senators that stood up to the authoritarianism, the totalitarian-like behavior from our administration, which is now approaching its first full year, is outstanding. And as a veteran, I support it, I applaud it, and I back it up all the way. People like Senator Alyssa Slotkin and Mark Kelly are, to me, on the vanguard of the resistance. And I think they're symbolizing what being a true patriot, a patriot that really stands up to people that have been bought and sold, and the regime that serves billionaires and the very elite of society. What are we calling them now? The Epstein class? That sounds about right. I want to applaud them. That's the kind of leadership we need. Party aside, I think they're putting the right message out there to support veterans and men and women in uniform, that illegal orders are not to be obeyed. It's constitutionally correct. We can sing that song to the end of the day, but I think we're so far past that point. The Constitution has been trampled endlessly by the maggots. So with that in mind, as you digest whatever form of news you consume these days or social media information, keep in mind there's a right and there's a wrong. There's a black and there's a white. There is an absolutely honest truth, and then there are a slate of lies and conspiracies and an endless river of bullshit. Bottom line, that's it. End of story. Now, if you know what the end of this, you know the bullshit, because you've been listening to it for 10 years going, you're probably acquainted to this language, what I'm going into. And on that note, like I say, the fact that these individuals, these 6 individuals, these leaders that are stepping up and making themselves known, unlike the Republican Party or anyone in it, with the exception of a few in the last 10 years, making a stand for truth, justice, and being patriots. Don't let it slide out of the news cycle. I want to revisit and reemphasize how important it is that they're putting the message out there. So I'm amplifying and echoing that message as a veteran myself, and I support it all the way. We are not to be intimidated. We're not to be pushed around. We are not to be silenced. We are to be outspoken, defiant, resistant, in the face of authoritarian behavior in America. We are at a time in our country that we've never been at least not in the last 100 years, to this degree, and it's time that it end. We can't wait for 3 more years. There's been great protests going on in recent weeks in Washington that this oligarchy-like behavior will not fucking stand. And every day is a new page turned, a new event or incident revealing how corrupt, incompetent, incapable, and completely daft this administration is. I mean, when I look at the television and the few moments each week that I can stand looking at this orange tard, all I can tell is that we've got somebody that's dementia set in with, that's slowly declining more and more each day. He can't stay awake in meetings. He doesn't stand up behind his desk. And if he's seated in his desk, he's slumped over. He's slumped over. He's not even showing any presidential bearing. But we've already been through this. Like I say, I don't mean to be the broken record on this, but he's not suitable to lead, and he never really was. So now that we got a government back open at great cost, at our own sacrifice, we'll see how the HCA tax credits get extended. We'll see how that goes. And the good old Epstein files, running down the clock on that one, waiting for the big reveals. Notice how that's kind of slipping out of the cycle again. We kind of piece along together, and we follow the thought leaders, or the people that, to me, are the most informed and the greatest minds and the most inquisitive when it comes to finding out what's really going on behind the scenes. Heather Cox Richardson continues to be my favorite go-to person. And so I emphasize her and kind of amplify and echo her channel. She's great to listen to. Take the time, if you're a veteran and you know what this means in this day and age, to have troops on the streets, how incredibly crazy that is, to go and put uniformed people out there in major cities, on the American streets, facing off with people practicing their First Amendment right, then you know a bit about the Constitution and defending it properly and the oath we all swore. So take time to watch her, see what she's got to say. Incredibly well-researched, well-informed, and educated woman. And I can't get enough of watching her YouTube segments. So every day she's on there, she's logging in, and she'll even run down the roll call of people that have signed on to the live broadcast. That said, things of the nature of international, in terms of our foreign relations problems, go on. It's hard to watch the news with reports of boats being blown out of the water, including the September 2nd incident and the double tap news. Having done that, or having overseen parts of that as a command duty officer in the Florida Keys, where the Coast Guard was assigned and responsible for alien migration interdiction operations in a very dynamic environment in the Florida Straits. We had a very strict 6-step use of force continuum, beginning with, say, level 1, officer presence, into a level 2, which might have been more of a shouldering or nudging boats to stop that were involved in illicit activity, including migration and interdiction operations. And it was very strictly followed, including being tracked at the 2-star level in Miami. Level 6 was the final step, and Heather Cox Richardson does a great job of talking a bit about this in her realm. Level 6 involved use of force, but not against the people in the vessel, against the mechanical propulsion systems, the outboards of the vessel. And that was to shoot the engines, right? With a high caliber weapon. And that was level 6 of a 6-point use of force continuum. And that level 6 was very rarely employed, but occasionally it was, to stop vessels from crossing the Florida Straits into U.S. territorial waters. So that's how it's really done when it comes to stopping illicit activity from vessels that may pose a threat or be pulling in some sort of drugs into onto U.S. borders. Not the way it's been done through this administration with highly unqualified, inept, foolish, childish leaders. And everything I just said there applies except for the word leader. So just know that there is a system in place and there are fundamental laws and policies that have been in place for decades when it comes to stopping vessels at sea on the high seas. Any comments, questions, concerns? I really welcome them. Plug them in there at the bottom of this video if you've gotten this far. Subscribe, follow me, whatever we do here. And give me your thoughts. I try to make this as coherent as I can at the dark hours of the late Monday evening here in the study. So join me, if you will, in this dialogue as we continue on. And democracy must be defended. Defiance is self-evident. Let's do this, people. Keep pushing back. Out for now.